This conference will now be recorded.
Are you people able to hear me? Chat. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Okay, then let me share my screen. Okay, I hope my screen is also visible. Let me go to here. Actually, today we are going to do the project. So, what's the project architecture will be? Let me go to the project architecture first before going to the actual project. So, let me go here and let me open this. Yeah. Actually, this is the project architecture, what we are going to do. Okay, there we will be having two microservices here, like student store application, where it has two APIs. One is to store the student, and other one is to get all the students. So that's the one application. It contains two APIs, and that will run on port number 8080 because the embedded Tomcat will be there within that. Okay, because the Tomcat runs on the port number 8080 because that application runs on the port number 8080. Okay, now MongoDB is there. MongoDB is another microservice that we have going to deploy as a container, and that MongoDB, the default port is 27017. Okay, that is a port number on which your MongoDB application will be running on, and your student store app will be communicating with the MongoDB application on that port number. Okay, on that port number 27017, and we, in order to access this student store application from the external from externally, we are port forwarding that to 8989 on the Docker host. Okay, so on the Docker host we are port forwarding to 8989. Okay, now we this student store application and will be created out of the multi-stage docker builds file. Okay, that is created out of the multi-stage docker builds, and this student store application and the MongoDB application will be part of a custom network. Okay, will be part of a custom network, and this MongoDB application is also port forwarded to 27018 on the Docker host because we are going to visualize the data inside the MongoDB through the Mongo Compass. Okay, this is a Mongo Compass screen which I have mentioned here, and we are going to do that. And in this we are also going to mount a volume to student store application. We are going to mount a volume to the student store application and the MongoDB, because MongoDB should also store the data. Automatic volume will be mounted to that. Okay, that is by default volume. Okay, that's the thing we are going to do. And here all the things which we have discussed in the Docker concept has been covered. Like, Docker file is covered because from the Docker file only we are going to create a student store application. Docker volumes is covered because we are going to create an external volume and we are mounting that volume to the student store application. And MongoDB will also be creating a volume, and automatically, without we creating externally explicitly. So it also creates by default. Actually, that is the Docker volume is covered. The Docker Compose, like each and everything, the automation, like we deploy everything, like creation of containers and creation of Docker image of student store as well. Okay, creation of Docker image of student store as well, and placing them, deploying them on the same network, custom network, that we call it as. Okay, and port forwarding like 8080 to 8089 and 27017 to 27018. All these things will be automated by Docker Compose actually. So that's the thing. Okay, Docker networking, because we are going to create these two containers under the same network, that is custom network, okay, then the name will be different, but we are going to create these two containers on the same network. The network type is bridge network. Okay, now container communication, for the container communication, because they need to be communicating with each other with the help of names, because of that we are using hyphen hyphen link option in the Docker Compose files, and for the communication establishment between the containers actually. So student store application should communicate with the MongoDB application to store the data and to get the data like that, okay, to perform the transactions. So this is the overall architecture that we are going to perform, and we are going to see the practical things on this. Okay, any questions you people have before on this architecture diagram before going further to the practical? Any questions you people have?
So my said no, sir.
Okay, okay. Is that understandable? Is that, did you understand, or anyone did not understand? Anyone have any questions? Anyone have any questions, please? Because this architecture diagram should be clear before going to the practical, so that the practical will also be clear for you. Okay, please ask if you have any questions on this architecture diagram. If no questions, please put no in the chat, please. I will be understanding there will be no questions. Okay, 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 Ritesh, okay, Shikar, yeah. Please put no, so that I will be understanding no questions, or I don't know what to understand. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Now, let me go here. Okay, this is an architecture diagram. Let me go through each and every component that we use in the architecture diagram. Okay, now let first go to the Docker Compose file. We have already seen that, but yeah, please observe clearly. I may ask some questions. Please clear me that. Okay, so that one. Okay, now let me go to Docker Compose file. Okay, let me go here. This is the multi-stage Docker build Docker Compose file. That means there are two stages in this Docker Compose file. Let me try to increase the font if that is not clear. Oh, this is IntelliJ, right? Yeah, it's okay. Now, this is the Docker Compose file. There are two stages here. This is one stage. This is the second stage. Okay. Now, here you see that, okay, all the Docker Compose, all the files belonging to my project, I am storing to slash app slash source using this copy instruction. Now I am making the work dir as slash app slash source. Now run. I am running, like I am running uh, mvnw package. Okay. Now mvnw package creates a jar file, as you people already know. Now this stage only creates a jar file out of all the project documents, okay, out of all the project folders actually. Now that's the thing. Now from this stage also contains jar file. Along with the jar file, all these files, right? Now once the jar file is created, all these files were not needed, right? Well, jar file is the ultimate thing that you need to have in order to run a Docker container, actually Docker image. You have to create a Docker image. Now after creating a jar file, these files are not needed for us, right? So for that reason, we are going to create another stage, and we are going to copy a jar file from this stage to this stage, and this stage will only contains a jar file, and all the project structure will not be present here. It only contains the jar file. Okay, it only contains the jar file, and that jar file will be executed. The image will be created out of this stage, actually last stage. Okay, that's how we create multi-stage Docker builds. The industry used Docker file concepts will be using multi-stage Docker builds. Okay, and some of the people will be using normal Docker builds also, but most of the things, like most of the product-based companies uses multi-stage Docker builds in order to create Docker images. Okay, now that's the thing. Now there can be multiple stages also. I've taken example here, two stages, but there can be a multiple stages as well. Okay, how to copy things from one stage to another stage using copy instruction hyphen hyphen from builder. From here, how we are copying from the first stage to second stage, in the same way you need to copy the files from one stage to another stage if you have multiple stages. Okay, that's the thing. Now this is the Docker file of my student store application. Okay, this is a Docker file of my student store application. Now let me go you through the Docker compose file. Okay, let me put this side by side so that it will be very clear for you. Let me put like this. Yeah. Now mm, le- let me do like this. Okay. Now if you see here, let me compare two things. Okay. Now we need two containers in order to do this project, right? MongoDB as well as student store application. We need two containers, MongoDB and student store application. Now, under the services, you need to have two containers like this one, MongoDB and student store application. Okay, these are the two containers that we have right now under the services. Now, MongoDB, what should be the container name? I'm giving this one student -db. Okay, that will be that. Okay, now image name. Okay, forget about this. What is this? What is this template? This is something called template. Okay, what is this? From where the value will be substituted? Here I will be telling you. But yeah, as of now, forget about this. Okay, now what is the image? I am placing the image here Mongo and the tag for that image and the environmental variables that you need to pass here MongoDB init username, MongoDB init password, right? Now that's the thing. Ports under the ports I am port forwarding 27018 to 27017. On the 27017 MongoDB will be running. I am port forwarding to 27018 as shown in the diagram. Here I am port forwarding 27017 this port to 27018 on the Docker host, right? This is how I do. Okay, this is the one. Now, and networks. I am creating this MongoDB application, a MongoDB container in the student Mongo network. Actually, this is the Mongo network. Uh, here, I am creating this MongoDB container in this network. Okay, now that's the thing. Now student, this is related to MongoDB container. This all this information is related to MongoDB container. Okay, now that's the thing. Now the next information related to student store application. Now what is that? This is a container name and the image I am using student store, and I will be telling you from where this value will be taking. Okay, this is the tag that we are going to have for the student store. Now you can create now what is a here build thing is we have build thing. Okay, now if you don't have image in your local machine, suppose let's think student store build is not there, like image is not there in my machine. Now what this build section does is it automatically takes the Docker file from this project. It automatically builds the image for us. This Docker compose file automatically does for us. Okay, you no need of explicitly building the image and creating the Docker file and using the Docker image in the Docker file. You no need of doing that. Docker file, Docker compose file itself builds the image and tags that image to v1.0. This is how you need to do. Okay, now what is this context here? Context represent where the Docker file is there. Okay, in which location Docker file is there. Now if you see my folder structure, this Docker compose file is present in compose folder, docker compose.yaml. Now where the Docker file is there, out of this compose folder, this is the compose folder where the Docker file is there. Out of the compose folder is there. That is why dot represents previous directory, slash represents once it go to the previous directory, the Docker file will be there. Oh, this is the Docker file that is there. Okay, that is how we need to represent context on which location the Docker file is there. That is the context. Okay, what is the name of the file? Docker file is the name of the file. Okay, that's the thing. Now arguments, you need to tag that when the image is built, you need to tag, right? So if you don't tag, that will be taken as latest, right? So this tag represents tagging that image, actually tagging that Docker image. Okay, now for this student application as well, I am port forwarding to 8989. and the student store application will be running on port number 8080. If you see here, student store application will be running on port number 8080, and I am port forwarding to E89 on my Docker host actually. That's a thing actually. Now this is the thing. One second. Yeah. Now my student store application also has some environmental variables to be passed. If you see my student store application, if you go to here, resources, application.properties, this requires some environmental variables that need to be passed in order to connect to the MongoDB application, MongoDB microservice. Okay, so you need to pass these environmental variables. Now, how to pass these environmental variables from the Docker Compose file is using environment. Okay, is using environment. Under the environment, you need to pass whatever the environmental variables that your application requires. Okay, that's the thing. Now, these environmental variables, this I have given as a template. Okay, now how to pass the values to this actually I'll tell you in the next step. Okay, now these are environment variables. Now volumes, I am explicitly mapping the data hyphen volume to slash app slash data inside the container. This is the directory in which my volume will be mounted. This volume will be created and mounted to slash app slash data directory. Now that's the thing, that's a volume I am mounting to that. Okay, now links, because we need to establish a communication between the student store application and MongoDB application using using their names, right? So for that I am using links option in the Docker Compose file. Now what is this links option? Like, this is the name of the container the student store application need to be communicated with. The student store application need to be communicated with MongoDB, and this is the like alias name that we call it as. Any name you can take here. This is the right side. Now depends on, someone asked in the previous classes, there will be a depends on, why we are not using that, but here we are using as a part of project. No, depends on represents, like what this depends on represents is, after after creating MongoDB container only, this is the MongoDB, right? After creating the MongoDB container only, you need to create the student store application. So that represents the depends on here. You see that student store, like all the information that I have until networks, you can see until networks is under the student store only. All the things which I'm going through you people now is under the student store. All this information belongs to student store application only, student application only. That's the thing. Now this student store application is also need to be created in the custom network. Okay, right? As part of diagram, this also need to be created in the custom network. Now how the MongoDB created in the custom network? We have given network section, and in that network section we have given student Mongo, right? In the same way, you need to give your student store application should be deployed in the custom network. That's the what is the custom network is student Mongo app, student Mongo network. What's mean by custom network? That means our own network, our own network. It's, if you don't give your own network, that will be deployed, but in the default network that will be deployed. Okay, that is also bridge network, but default, but we are going to deploy in the custom network. That is a thing, right? Now, for that networks to be deployed, like this MongoDB application, MongoDB container, and student store application or student store container or microservices should be deployed in the same network, right? For that, network need to be created. How the network will be created in the Docker Compose file? You need to give this one here, networks, and networks, like name of the network that you need to create, and the driver, like means which type of network you want to create. Like I want to create the bridge network, that represents this actually. Now we are mounting a volume to student application, like here data hyphen volume. Like before mounting, this volume need to be created, right? Before mounting, okay, first you need to create a volume and then you need to mount, right? How the volume will be created is using this volumes section actually. Volumes data hyphen volume, this represents the volume name actually. This represents the volume name. Driver means local volume, like in my local machine only. Labels, I am labeling the volume created by Docker Compose file. Okay, just I am giving the labels. That's it. Okay, you need to create a volume, and this will be creating a volume and mounting the volume to student application here actually. Now that's a Docker Compose file for our project. Like this covers the everything, like building the Docker like Docker like building the Docker image, mounting the Docker volumes, and creating the Docker networks, and port forwarding, and passing the environmental variables, and image, that's the thing, and image versioning, and yeah, everything. Now this is the Docker Compose file. How this values for this will be passed here? Like I have taken dollar MongoDB username, dollar MongoDB password, dollar student store application tag, and dollar, like that. I have taken the template. Okay, this may be changing for, see, suppose this same Docker Compose file you want to use for different environments. Suppose, let's think, just for example I am saying, let's think this student store application you want to use for development environment and for the production environment. Now the values for MongoDB username, MongoDB password will be different for production environment and for the development environment. So in order to use the same Docker Compose file for the two different environment, you need to template this. You need to template this something like this. Okay, because you, if you want to deploy this containers in the production environment with the same Docker Compose file, you again need to change the Docker Compose file with all these values if you directly use the values here. For that use case, in order to not to do that, in order not to change always the Docker Compose file, I have templated these values actually, which values that are going to be changed for environment to environment, that I have made a template like this. Okay, using dollar, like something like this for all these cases. Okay, now how the values are passed to this, all the values are passed to this, let me show you that. Okay, let me this one and go here. There is some file using .env. Okay, this is some file. There is something called .env. .env is a file. Let me put this one this side. Okay, let me put this one this side. Okay, now .env, from this .env only, from this .env only, the values will be passed actually. Now if you want to deploy with the same values in the development environment, you will be deploying in the production environment. If you want to deploy, you are not going to touch your Docker Compose file. You are not only going to change the values in the .env file, and those values will be reflected in the Docker Compose file automatically. Okay, that's a .env file. From this .env, I have mentioned MongoDB image tag, that is latest. That means this MongoDB image tag I have used here. You can see here I have used here. That means this latest will be automatically placed here, substituted here when deploying this MongoDB as well as student store applications onto my Docker host actually. This is how they will be using student store application tag. You can see here student store application tag. That means that will be automatically like here actually, like substituted here when you deploy the Docker Compose file to the Docker host. Now all these things will be substituted in the same way, in the same manner. Okay, that's how that is designed. Okay, that's how that is designed. So something like that. Now this is the
Shiva,
Docker Compose file. Yeah.
have you created this environment file, a .txt file, or it's some other extension
No, it's
in this
.txt file only, but it's a hidden file. If you see, it starts with dot. Okay, if you see, it starts with dot. That means it's a txt file, and but it is a hidden file. Okay.
Okay,
Sir, it's
so
automatically taken, sir, actually. A .env file
Yes,
automatically taken, or we
yes.
need
This
to
dot
run like a
env.
bat file, sir. We need to run like a bat
No, no,
file, sir.
no.
Mm,
If you give the file name as .env, that will be
mm,
automatically taken. That is a default file. Okay. Now, if you want to give another file name .env.prod, okay, in such cases you
mm.
need to explicitly mention, you need to consider this file.
Okay, sir. When you run, what we need to do is, sir, suppose if you want to run like this Docker Compose file, sir. In that case, we
Hmm.
can run directly, sir. We can
Yeah,
go
you
to
can
that.
run directly. Yes, you can run
Then,
directly. In that case,
mm,
.env will be taken. Okay, if you run directly in the same way which we did previously. So that
mm,
.env will be taken. If you don't want to run with the .env values, okay, if you don't want to
mm,
run with the
mm,
.env values, in that case you need
mm.
to explicitly mention which file you need to consider in order to substitute your values in the Docker Compose file.
Okay, in the Docker Compose file, sir. Okay, explicitly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where
By
we
def
will put this,
Uh-huh.
like suppose we want to run with .env prod file. So in compose
Okay.
file where we will put
No,
this tag for this
no, we will not,
to that.
put inside the yeah, we will not put inside the Docker Compose file, but while running the Docker Compose file, we will be giving hyphen env file, something like that, then to consider this file. We
Mhm.
will not put this information inside the Docker Compose file. Okay, because if you put information in the Docker Compose file, if you run this for the development environment also, that Docker Compose file will be considered. So that env file we will not put inside the Docker Compose file. That is explicitly
By
mentioned when
default,
we are.
okay, sir. By default, it will take like a .env file, sir. By default, right, sir?
Ah, yes, yes.
And sir, one more doubt, sir. Already we are using like a depends tag, sir, so that we need not use like a links option, sir, like from the Mongo to Spring Boot applications, sir, here in the Docker Compose file. Already we
No,
use like a
links
depends,
option.
no,
No,
sir.
no.
Mm. Mm.
Links option is for the establishing of communication. Using their names actually. So this is for links option. But depends
Mm.
on suggest the Docker Compose that you first create this MongoDB application, MongoDB container first, and then you take care about the student app application. That is for the depends on. This is different.
Okay.
This is for establishing communication, and this is for mentioning the Docker Compose, saying that you create that
Mm.
one first and then this one, something like that.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. And sir, volumes you created, sir. Where is the relation, sir? Is there any name refers to the volume, sir? You created the volume. How you
Yes,
mounting any name is referred, sir, here?
yes,
Data
here I
volume
have
you
volume
created, sir.
data volume I created. I have mounted
Oh,
these volumes here to the student application data volume. From this is the data volume that is will be created, and it what path that will be mounted inside the container is slash app slash data. That's it.
okay, sir. The name should be matched, sir. Like, sir, under
Yes,
volumes,
yes,
the data volumes and this matched this one. Okay, okay, sir. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you,
yes.
sir. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Ritesh, you are asking something?
No, Shiva, no.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Please. Anyone have any questions? Is that clear? Is that clear? Is
If
that
you
clear?
want to
Did you
change the
match?
any one doubt,
Uh,
sir, last doubt. If you want to
uh,
change like any environment variables, then we need to pass like a through command line arguments we need to pass while running the compose file, sir, right?
Now we are all, like we are passing from the .env file, right? So we are not passing like command line arguments. So we will be changing the environment variables here, something like this here.
Okay, sir. Okay. Here only I need to change. First, we need to change here only, sir. Suppose dynamically, if you
Yes.
want to pass, sir, while
You
running the
mean?
compose file, suppose
No, no,
while
you need
running
to
like
create
a
.env file. No, no, you need to
uh,
create .env file, and you need to pass like this. If check with the Docker Compose documentation, there may be option like -e
okay, sir. Okay.
MongoDB host, and like that you can pass like how we are passing for the Docker in the same way you can pass.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now, clear anyone, please. If you have any questions, please. Is that clear? Did you match this Docker Compose file with the diagram we have seen? Did everyone match that? Okay. Both. Did they? Did you get any idea? Like, uh, did you see any sync between the this Docker this one as well as one second our Docker Compose file? Did you people able to match this one and this one? Oh, yeah. Please answer right. So.
Here matching, sir.
Did you able to
Matching happened.
match? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
if anyone did not understand, please mention so that I can explain one more time. So that's the thing. Yeah, thanks, thank you. Yeah, now let me go to the deploying of this project. Now this is project. Now this is a thing, and this is the Docker Compose file. These are environment variables. Now that's the thing, Docker Compose file. And now let me go to here and let me check my Docker is running or not. You can see Docker is running. It's in running state. You can see green indicates that it is in running. Docker desktop is running state. Now that's the thing. Now let me see if any containers are there or not. Docker container, yeah, let me, no containers are there. Now Docker images, let me see the images. There are images. Let me clear the screen. And let me what I can do, let me remove the images. How to remove the image? Docker system prune hyphen a is the image, like Docker system prune hyphen a is the command. That's a how you need to remove. Let it remove. Let me click on this. Okay, now it has been removed. Let me clear the screen. Now Docker volume ls. So these are all the volumes that is been there on my Docker machine. Okay, so if you delete a container, the volume internally will not be deleted. Okay, that's a why these volumes are there. That is why I sometimes I will be using my local machine, and sometimes I will be using my Docker host in my EC2 machine. That's one of the reason why I use two things at a time. Okay, that's the thing. Clear the screen. Now that's the thing. Now what I can do, let me clear the screen again. Now where I am, let me check that I am inside the compose folder. I am inside the compose folder where my all files are present. You can see Docker compose files and helper. You can see we are unable to see .env and .env.prod because they are hidden files. You cannot see them here. How to see them? You need to use hyphen ls hyphen la. Okay, you can see now all the hidden files will be shown here. Okay, these are the hidden files that are there in this directory, where in this compose directory. Okay, that's a thing. Now this is a thing. Now we need to execute docker compose.yaml. Okay, we need to execute docker compose.yaml. How to execute docker compose.yaml? Before executing, let's check whether the values from the .env were actually substituting into the Docker compose file or not. Okay, now let's check that first. Now how to check that? Now Docker hyphen compose config. Okay, config. Let me type this. Okay, Docker hyphen compose config. If you see here, now if you need to verify this, the values from the .env file will be actually substituting this Docker compose file. Now if you see the environment variables, you can see it here: student db, mongodb host, student hyphen db. Okay, you can see those were properly substituting. You can see mongodb host, student hyphen db, mongodb name, student db. Okay, this is the student db. Now mongodb port, okay, 27017. Okay, now this is being substituted from the .env file. Previously all these were templates, something like this. But now when you just I am not deployed yet. I am checking whether uh, my values are being substituted to the Docker compose file or not. That's it. Okay, now they are being properly substituted, and check everything whether they are being properly substituted or not. You can see these are being test is the password, and the admin is the username. Previously it is something like template, like something like this, and the image, yeah, you can see it here. Image latest is being substituted. You can see image Docker tag is being substituted, and these are all the things that are being substituted. And go down, yeah, everything is being substituted properly. Now let me go ahead and deploy the applications together. Now let me clear the screen. Now how to deploy that? Docker hyphen compose up is the command that you need to use in order to deploy the application. I want to use hyphen d, that is in a detached mode. Okay, now let me click on enter. You can see here it is trying to pull student, like it will building the student application. First it will be trying to pull, and it will not finding the image, and it will try to build that. Now it is first what it is creating, it is creating mongodb application. It is first trying to pull mongodb container, and it is trying to create a container. It's created a container. You can see pulled and created a container. Now it is building the image of my student store application. You can see it here, Amazon Coreto. So this is the one. Okay, this is the one. Now you can see this is building the student store application. So it is running the Maven package now. You can see our Docker file. It is running Maven package. Oh, this is the command it is running now. Okay, now that's the thing. Now after this running, second stage will be started, right? So that's the thing. Now let it complete. Yeah. It is downloading the dependencies from the repo.yum.apache.org. Yeah. Now you can see it here. Our container student DB got created and our container student app got created. Now the network got created and the volume got created. If you see here, see each and everything, whatever the network, okay, whatever the network that we create, okay, whatever the network that we create here, we have created a student Mongo network and we have created data volume. Okay, now they will be prefixed with compose. Okay, they will be prefixed with, like, student Mongo will be prefixed with compose and data volume will be prefixed with compose, because we are creating that will be default functionality of the Docker compose file. That will be Docker compose file will be prefixing that with the compose section, compose word actually. That's the thing. Now you can see they are created and they are created, started something like that. Now clear the screen. Now let me clear the screen. Now let me increase the font size. Okay, let me clear this. Now let me check Docker container, Docker container ls. You can see containers got created. You can see that containers got created. Now if you go here, because of this Mongo, like you can see that here, what is the container name here? Mongo DB is the container, like student DB is the container name for MongoDB. Now this is the student DB with the name that it got created. Now what is the student app container name? Student app is the container name that we defined in the Mongo, like inside the Docker compose file with the same name that got created. Now here we have port forwarded, right? How we port forwarded? Like here we have port forwarded using port section 8989:8080. In the same way it got port forwarded, and in the same way MongoDB also we have port forwarded using port section. It was also port forwarded to my Docker host. Okay, now you can see here what is the command it is running. It is running java-jar app.jar, because in the entry point we have given java-jar /app/app.jar. That is the ultimate thing it should run. It should run the jar file. This container should running the jar file. That is why it has been running. Now you can see with what tag the image got created, v1.0, because we have given in the build section v1.0. Okay, that's a thing. Now that's a thing. Now this is the MongoDB. It will be running the entry point that is related to MongoDB. Who given the MongoDB will be able to know what it runs actually. Now because we created this app image out of our Docker image using multi-stage Docker builds, we know that what command it will run at the end of that container using java-jar app/app/app.jar. This command will be running actually. Now that's a ultimate thing that it will be running actually. Now you can see Docker images. You can see that now this image was created by the Docker file, like Docker compose file only. We did not explicitly create an image. Previously that we have deleted all the images. If you previously notice, we have deleted all the images here. Docker system prune -a. We have seen that these images are there, and we have deleted all the images using Docker system prune -a. You can see all the images got deleted. It has mentioned here. Here you can see all the images got mentioned. Your total reclaimed space is 904 MB. Okay, that is given to us like by deleting all the images. Now again, when you run the Docker compose file, a Docker compose file has created a new image out of the Docker file that we have inside our project. Okay, that's a with what tag it creates v1.0. This is the v1.0. Now that's the thing. Now MongoDB will be given to us like by the hub.docker.com only. That is pulled the latest tag. Because why it is pulling the latest tag? Because we mentioned in the env section to pull in the latest tag actually. That is a why it is pulling the latest tag. Okay, because this is substituted at place of this one actually, this one. Okay, that's it. Now that's how it works actually. Now if you see Docker network, Yes, if you see the network name compose underscore student mongo got created. What type of network that need to be created that we given in the Docker compose file? It's a bridge network. Driver is bridge network. You can see bridge network. Okay, now that is a network that got created. Now let us check the volumes as well. Docker. Okay, Docker volume. Yeah, let us check the Docker volume as well. You can see compose data volume got created. Data volume got created because this is created using compose file. That is why it is prefixed with compose, and data volume is a volume name that we have here. Actually, you can see data hyphen volume. Okay, that's a volume name that got created actually. Now that's a thing actually. Now let me clear the screen. Let me clear the screen now. Now this is the ultimate thing. All our folder, like all our things were created. You can see all our things were created. Network, volume, containers, creating an image from the Docker file, port forwarding, everything got created with one click. Okay, with one execution of one command. Okay, see, for doing in the previous without Docker compose, let's think how complex it is. You need to explicitly create a volume, you need to explicitly create a network, you need to explicitly create a Docker image out of the Docker file, you need to explicitly create a Docker container of student store application, you need to explicitly create a Docker MongoDB application container, and you need to explicitly map, you need to do port forwarding between the Docker host and the containers, and you need to explicitly establish a communication. All these things were automated using the Docker compose file. Okay, here all these things using the Docker compose file. You can understand how powerful the Docker compose file it is for the developers. You can see it makes the developer job easy actually. Now that's the thing. Now how you can see the applications were port forwarded to Docker container ls. You can see the application was port forwarded to the 8989 port of my Docker host. As I shown in the diagram, it is port forwarded 8989 port on my Docker host. Now let me request, let me first I need to create, see, in case of MySQL, you will be annotating your Pojo class with @table, so that a table will be automatically created in the MySQL database. Something like that you will be doing, like developers will be doing, like just for your reference. Okay, don't mind that. Okay, because you may be not knowing the development, some people. Okay, so that's the thing. Now people will be doing like that. The table inside that should be automatically created. The table should be there in order to store the data. Okay, the index should be there in order to store the data in the MongoDB. In order to do that, I have not explicitly mentioned any annotation in my application, so I need to explicitly create a database inside the MongoDB container actually. Now let me go and create the uh, required things inside the container. Go to the, I have already uploaded this. Go to the helper section. Go to the helper section here. In the helper section, you will be finding the commands what need to be created. If you go here, you need to go here. Now I need to log in into the MongoDB container. Let me log in here now. Docker exec hyphen it, and this one slash bin slash sh. Let me log in into the MongoDB container. Now I have just logged in into the container. I am not logged in into the database. How to log in into the database? Using Mongo sh. Okay, Mongo sh hyphen u is the username. Admin hyphen p is the password that we have set. What's the password that we have set? Test is the password we have set using environmental variable, right? You need to log in into that. Now you are inside the MongoDB database, inside the container actually. Now how to you need to create a student show databases. Just execute, this is the MongoDB commands, right? So you need to execute show databases. As of now there are three databases available: admin, config, and local. You can see it here, and this is just put it here, this one just hold it here. Now other thing I want to continue. Okay, now this MongoDB application will also be is also port forwarded to 27018. Okay, 27018, where on that port our Mongo Express dashboard will be connected to visualize the data. Okay, to visualize the data. Now let us connect this Mongo Compass dashboard to the MongoDB container in this manner. Okay, in this pipeline actually. Now let's go there to the Mongo Compass. Now how you need to connect is, once you open the Mongo Compass dashboard, Here you will be finding the connect section. Let me disconnect, which I've already connected because that container is not there. Let me disconnect that. And first, when you open the Mongo Compass dashboard, you will be finding this kind of screen, new connection. Now you need to enter all these things. What is a username? What's the password? The test is the password. Now on which port that should Mongo Compass should connect it to the Docker container is using 27018, because that is the port forwarded port to the MongoDB container. This port, okay, this should connect to this port, and that will be connected to MongoDB container. Now that's how it works. Now if you once you enter the username, once you enter password, now that will be the ultimate thing. Now click on connect. Okay, your Mongo Compass is connected to your MongoDB container inside the, which is where it is running on my Docker host. Here it is running. It got connected because you see show databases. It is showing admin database, config database, and the local database. Okay, now these are the three databases. You can also notice the same thing, three databases. Now admin and config as well as local, which because these are the default databases that will be created with the MongoDB when you create a MongoDB container. Okay, that's a default databases. Okay, that's a thing actually. That's the ultimate thing. Now you can just create a student database. If you don't need of explicitly creating, if you use student db, that will be explicitly created actually. So use student db. Now switch it to student db. Now if once you use student db, I need to create a user because my student store application will be connecting to this MongoDB application using the admin username, because I am passing the username and password credentials to my MongoDB application to connect to I'm passing the admin credentials like MongoDB credentials to student store application to connect to MongoDB, right? So MongoDB need to have this user actually. So let me create this user. Let me create this one. Yeah. Now this got created. Now that's it. Now go out of this container. Everything is documented here. You can also use these documents. I'll also be uploading like this Docker Compose file is not uploaded, but this document helper document is already uploaded. Now that's it.
The,
Now
the,
now
this Shiva, this helper file we have to create, or this only is a helper file? Just you have made for us helper file.
no, I have made for you people. You know of
Okay.
explicitly creating. Okay. So for your
So
reference,
this
for the commands that need to have with the MongoDB and the related things. Yeah.
this part has this should not go inside the project, na? This is only for showing us. It's a note part. It's something as a notes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, that's the thing. Now, I have created required things inside the MongoDB container, right? I have required. No, see, do not be complex. Only three to four steps you need to continue. Like one thing is you need to log in to the container, and you need to execute this login to the MongoDB database. You need to use student DB, you need to create a database, and you need to create a user. Only three steps. This one you need to execute, and this one you need to execute, and this one you need to execute. Only three comments, that is enough. Okay, that's the thing. After logging into the container, okay, that's the thing. Okay, now let me clear the screen. This is the what we have created. Now let me reconnect to my database. Let me disconnect that one. Okay, let me disconnect, and let me reconnect one more time. Okay, let me reconnect. Now let me reconnect that one. Now let's go there, and let me go to Postman. Now let me Postman. Oh, now go to my student. I have Postman collection student store. Okay, add student. Now on which port my application is port forwarded to? 8989 port. Okay, 8989 port. Let me increase the font size. This is a Postman connect. See, Postman is a tool where we send API requests to the our application actually. So applications, whether it is the applications are present in my in cloud, or whether application present in my local, whatever it is. If your application present in your local, you need to use local host, and if your application present in your cloud, you need to use the related things, IP address or the domain name, that something like that. Okay, my application, my container is port forwarded in the local host only, in my local laptop only. That is why I'm using localhost 8989. What is it 8989? Because my container is port forwarded to 8989 port. Okay, this is the port. Okay, my Postman should be connected to this port. Okay, now because that port internally connected to student store application on 8080. Okay, that's the thing. Now That's the thing. Let me send the API request. Let me send that. Okay, you can see data successfully added. Okay, data successfully added. Okay, now that's the thing. Now added. Now where to see that data? Let me go here. Let me disconnect and
Mongo.
reconnect. Yeah, in the MongoDB, the data will be stored. You can see here in the diagram. In the diagram, we have seen, right. Once the request is sent from the postman, that to 8989, then the request goes to 8080, and the 8080, what this 8080 or the student store application will be running. What the student store application does, that API sends the stores the data inside the MongoDB on port number, like it will connect to the MongoDB application on port number 27017. The data will be stored inside the MongoDB. Now let's visualize the data from the Mongo Compass. Now because this Mongo Compass is connected to 27018, that is port forwarded to 27017, and like that, let's visualize. Let me go to Mongo Compass and let me see here. I have reconnected not that one. You can see student DB has created a database got created. Now student, that one created, and there is, you can see, one document got created. This is something called, we call it as index, and this is something called document. That means this data is stored inside the MongoDB container. Okay, how this communication is established? Because we have given hyphen links option in the Docker Compose file. If you don't give this, the communication might not be established. Actually, will not be established. Might not. Okay, this is how we connected together. Now, if you want to send one more request, let me send one more request. Let me
Sir,
go
we
here
can
to the
see the
post.
data also, sir.
Yeah, we are seeing, right?
We can see
We are
the
seeing. We are
some
seeing, right? This is
records or
the
something, sir.
data.
Okay. Okay, sir.
This is
Okay,
the
okay,
record
okay.
I've
Yeah.
just stored. Okay,
Sir,
okay.
same data we can see in the container also, sir. This one, sir. MongoDB
Yeah,
container, I mean to say.
you can also see in container, because that will be having explicit commands. Now I need to show collections. You can see show collections. Let me go inside. Let me try this. Okay, let me go. You can also see. Okay, let me go inside that. Okay, 1 second.
Problem, sir. No problem.
Because Mongo, that entirely related to MongoDB commands that you
Yeah,
use.
yes, sir.
So
That
yeah,
related to the comments. Yes, sir. Yeah. No issue. Yeah.
let me use this. Now show databases. Let me use show collections. Because the student collection has been found, because that is the collection that is there. Okay, you can see here student collection inside the student DB database. Now that's a collection name from the above output. Yeah, let me use this. Okay, let me use this and let me put it here, and let me use the student here. You can see here, this is a collection name. Now let me copy this inside the container. Let me put it here. You can see the data is there inside the container. You can see it here. That's how you can also see in the container, because we have port forward. I want to visualize that thing in the MongoDB for your easy purpose. So Mongo
The
Compass I
container,
need to
sir.
say.
Yes,
That's
sir.
why I've connected. Yeah, yeah. Now let me send one more request. Okay, let me send one more request to where is the postman? One second. Yeah, here. Okay, now this is one more request. I want to give another name. Let me give this one, and I'm not yeah, this is the one. Let me give this one. Let me save this and let me send the request. Okay, now data successfully added, student successfully added. Now let me go to the Mongo Compass. I need to reconnect. It is not refreshing. I need to one more time reconnect to see the data. Now if you see here, if you give the student store, the two data documents were added. These are something called documents, that we call it as in MongoDB. Yeah, this is something called index. Okay, that's the thing. Now these two documents were added, and one more API that we have, you can see, that is get student. Now let me send the request. Let me send the request, because yeah, send the request. Now you can see two collections, like two documents have been come. Actually, let me see that. Okay, this is how we have did our application, and we connected two different containers and did our project with the Docker Compose and everything. Whatever we learned until now, like Docker file, Docker commands, Docker commands also. Yeah, Docker commands. Yeah, of course, like Docker volumes, Docker Compose, Docker network, Docker communication, and multi-stage Docker builds, everything. Docker, yeah, everything I have included in this project, and we have designed a project something like this. Yeah, this is the
Shiva,
project. If yeah.
how this Docker Compose knows that we are running this file on this particular project in Tomcat, or which server we are using? Like this application is running on Tomcat.
This
So
student story,
we
maybe
go,
say.
yes, this suppose this application is running on the Tomcat only. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to give anything regarding the this middleware, about the middleware, this Tomcat
No,
or
because see,
pragmatic server.
yes, yes, because because this student store application internally contains Tomcat. That if you create any Spring Boot application nowadays, not from previous days only, so it is giving the Tomcat by default. You no need of explicitly mentioning in the Docker Compose file that Tomcat is there, something like that. Because if you run this application, if you run this student store application, if you run this here, yeah, if you see here,
Embedded
this
server, sir.
internally
Embedded.
contains embedded Tomcat. You no need of mentioning Tomcat is initialized with port number 8080. You no need of mentioning explicitly in the Docker Compose file. That will automatically take care by this application itself.
Okay, okay, application dot properties. If we are taking any other server, then we have to configure on application properties file, and that
Application
is
dot
also
properties.
taken.
Yes,
Okay, okay,
yes, yes. You're
and
right.
that is going
That is
inside
also taken
the
off.
jar. That
Yeah,
is
that is
the
yes. That is going inside.
In the form.xml file, we need to include the dependency. The other, if you want to include like other server dependency, we need to include actually.
that uh, yes, yes, that is also going inside the jar only. Okay.
Jar.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Yeah. Jar. Right.
Is that clear, everyone? Project is clear. Is that clear? Please
Sir, yes,
answer.
sir. Yes,
Please
sir.
answer. Yeah. If
One
you don't
thing
want to
that
answer,
I'm missing,
yeah, one thing.
one thing that
Okay.
I was missing, that env, and you have made one more file, env hyphen prod or something, it was there
Yeah.
in the program. So the as if now it is picking up env file, na?
Mm,
In the
yeah.
present scenario. But
Yeah.
as in the real-time project, it will be env hyphen dev, env hyphen ut, env hyphen prod. So
Yeah.
if we want to go with the env hyphen uat, then what we have to do exactly? You were telling something, I missed out that.
Yeah. If you want to use the different file for that, you need to use docker hyphen compose hyphen env hyphen file. Okay. Is equal to dot env dot prod. Okay. Dot env dot prod. Okay. Now
Okay, we have to inform it like this. Okay.
explicitly mention. Yes. Yes. You need to explicitly mention something like this.
Can you write that command, Shiva, on
Yeah.
Notepad,
This one.
only Notepad?
Notepad. Yeah. It is
And
already there with me. Yeah. Once
you can ping
compose.
you can ping
Yeah. I can ping
you
this
can
one
ping
here.
afterwards. That's
Yeah.
on Telegram.
Okay. In Telegram also. One second. Yeah. Is the project clear for everyone? Yeah, Ritesh, something you're asking?
No, no, no. This
Okay.
was only thing.
Okay. Okay. Is that clear for you this project?
Yes, yes, sure.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. For, yeah. For everyone, please put the message clear or something else in the chat so that I can understand it's clear so that we can move forward. If not clear, in the next class also we'll discuss about this. Okay. So please give me the information. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Hamza.
Shiva, one personal thing. Are you
Mhm.
a Java developer or a Python developer, or you a DevOps engineer?
I do all things, not front end. Okay,
Ah,
I am the Java
because
developer previously. Yeah, I am a Java developer previously. I know Python. I do DevOps. But in the current company, I'm not getting an opportunity to develop Java, but I do my personal project Java developer. So yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Mm,
Sir, they won't give the both the chances, sir, working on Java and working on DevOps also like that. In, a way, in I means in some companies, sir, I mean to say, either we
Yeah,
have to work from the Java.
in the previous company, I got both opportunities working on Java, working DevOps tools and other
Oh,
things. So I have
okay, sir, okay.
see in DevOps also we write some automation scripts with Python. Okay, in that way I learned Python. So
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So everything, but I don't know front end. Yeah, that's the thing. So
Okay, sir, in DevOps also we have to write like a Python script, sir. For DevOps, also we need to write
yes,
Python script, sir.
that is really important if you attend the interviews for DevOps. See, people are filtering with the help
Oh,
of Python only. Okay, Python is for automation. In the future days,
uh-huh.
DevOps also
Okay,
may
sir.
contain the Golang. Okay, so that's evolving technology. Yeah.
Okay, sir. In order to learn the DevOps, Python is mandatory, sir. In that case, right, sir?
No, no,
Like
no, no.
suppose,
In order to learn that,
mm,
in order to learn the DevOps, Python is non-mandatory. Okay, you can learn the DevOps without
mm,
Python as well. Okay, if you learn Python along with DevOps, that will be more preference to you. Okay, there will be
more
more preference.
preference. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
on the whole, everything
So
we have to learn.
yeah, yeah, you are right. You are right. Yeah, because people will be giving more preference to full stacks, right? So yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Now, now our Docker got completed. If you have any questions related to Docker, please ask. Or if you have any questions related to Docker, please post in Telegram group. And we are moving quickly towards the Kubernetes because we have spent much time on Docker. Okay, so whatever time needed we have spent. But yeah, we need to quickly move to Kubernetes and related things. Tomorrow is an important class. Like we are going to see why we are going to use Kubernetes, but not why we are going to use Kubernetes, but not Docker Swarm, and Kubernetes architecture and Kubernetes cluster creations, something like that. I'm going to show you three ways: Minikube way, Kubedium way, and EKS cluster way. I will be making your job easy. With one command, your clusters will be created. I don't want you people to face any problems. So I'll making you that. Okay, with the EKSTL, with one command your cluster will be created. But if with Kubedium you need to perform some actions, I will be mentioning in the class what are the actions you need to perform for the Kubedium way of creating clusters. And with Minikube, I will also you need to execute some commands. So that also I will be showing. Okay, so see, Minikube will cost you very less, very less, because that's only one server. Okay, the Kubedium way you need to consider three servers. Okay, you need to have three servers, and the EKS way you also need to have three servers, but the cost is more for EKS. Now, wherever the EKS require, okay, in the Kubernetes, I'll be showing you the EKS. Wherever the Kubedium required, I'll be showing Kubedium. Okay, we are going to consider these two things only: Kubedium, EKS, but not the Minikube, because Minikube nowhere used. That is the single node cluster where it is only used for the purpose of like practice. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, in the industry, people only uses EKS way of creating cluster, but not the Kubedium also. They will only use the EKS way of creating clusters from the AWS. If they use Azure, AKS way of creating clusters, and if you use Google Cloud, they use the GKE way of creating cluster. Previously, they used to use COPS way of creating clusters, but as of and in the present industry, nowhere else. Okay, they removed the COPS way of creating clusters, so they are using the cloud providers in order to their cluster need to be created, because all the security patches and the security updates and whatever required, okay, OS updates will be taken care by the AWS people itself. We no need to have explicit Linux knowledge in order to perform that. So that's how they consider, and they are creating the cloud way of creating EKS clusters and related things. So that's the thing. So we are going to head towards the Kubernetes soon, and I am going to upload the Docker Compose file and related the things where drive. Please go ahead and practice. If you have any questions, please post in the Telegram group, and we will move further tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can ask, or we'll meet tomorrow.
Shiva, this project you are giving, this project that you, the demo you are giving for the project, this also you are giving in the drive.
Yes, I'm going to give.
This is a running project, a complete running project.
This is my own project.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's running
okay,
project.
okay. It's a service only. Only two services are
Yeah,
there. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, sir, you have
Nahi,
uploaded, sir, this project, sir, or have you uploaded, sir, this project in the
I
drive,
have
sir, or?
uploaded, but not with the exact Docker Compose file in .env. I'll delete that once, and I'll re-upload
Hmm.
that student application one more time. That's the thing.
Okay, sir, okay, sir, okay.
Mm.
Shiva, you said that GKE is the most expensive one, GKE wala.
No. EKS. We are going. See, we are not going to use any other clouds. We are only going to use AWS cloud. Okay. We are not going to see. That's a different way of creating clusters. But EKS way of expensive. Okay. That's a see. Why I'm saying is some people, some of the your companies gives a cloud access to create to practice or to demo access. They will giving. In that case, it's a company thing, right? You can also create the EKS
Hmm.
clusters there, and you can also practice there. That's why I'm saying three things will be there, and whatever
Hmm.
you for your convenience you can use that.
Sir, these COPS cells are similar to the EKS cluster only, sir. Like COPS cells are
See,
similar to the
all
EKS cluster.
yes, all were Kubernetes clusters, but they are different
Hmm.
ways of creating clusters. That's the thing. Okay, so the
Hmm.
scops is entirely you need to manage servers creation and servers updation, AMI updates, security updates, OS related things. Entirely that is entirely in your hands. The Linux things also in your hands. So in the
Hmm.
EKS way, entire things will be managed by the Kubernetes Linux OS patches or security patches, OS updates, and everything will be maintained by the people, AWS people, and then we'll only have the Kubernetes related things. Only that's we'll limit it to that. That's it.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Thanks for joining session. Have a good day, and we'll meet tomorrow with the Kubernetes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.